So prior to learning those tunes from Rich, I had done a little bit of learning tunes by ear, but never persistent effort to learn the tune, practice it, master it. So that was new and intimidating. And, show up with the recorder and listen to him play it and then try and play the phrase back. And the give and take between the teacher and the students when you're learning a tune by ear. Adjusting to what the accordion sounds like right in front of me versus across a dance hall or off a recording or something like that. I found it very easy to internalize most of the melodies because some familiarity I had with it from a very young age. Yeah. Some of the tunes I did already know and could, sing them just having grown up around it. But some of them were brand new, so.
So what were some of those tunes that were internalized already?
So Metsä-kukkia, the really commonly known waltz, I guess.
Right.
Kiikuri Kaakuri, which is a Shadish, which means the loon. The Sauna song. I can't think of it. Renki Jussi, which is another Shadish. Villi Ruusu, which means wild rose. It's a waltz.
Mm-hmm. And were there any tunes that you learned that are you've found to be maybe particularly unique to this region, or you haven't heard or seen in other places?
We talk about it a lot, this Karjalan poikia, polka, which means the boys of Karelia, which is incidentally is a part of Finland my mom is from. So I knew that one since the time I could walk, probably. But most places I've heard it don't play a variation that Rich includes, which he says when you include that other part, then you call it Millerin polka, which means Miller's polka. So it's like most places do this A and B part, and then he has a C part.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And then because he's playing the tunes on the button accordion, he has to make certain adjustments to accommodate the instrument. Mm-hmm. So Säkkijärven polka, which is, if Finland had a national polka, it would be that. He plays a slightly modified version just because his instrument is more adaptable to
sure
that
right
notation. And also, he puts together neat sets of two waltzes together or two schottisches together that go together but aren't, too closely related. So, because Rich has been in the Finger Lakes community so much longer and grew up with his dad being a musician, he learned those tunes in the traditional way of hearing them and playing them and working on them in his family setting, and I guess throughout the Finnish American community that existed. So my scope was limited to what I captured between ages of 5 and 20 that I could retain. But his scope is much longer, so he knew more musicians in the community and picked up tunes from them here. Some of what I know is from here, but also just contemporary Finnish folk music that I found on CDs and stuff as an adult or young adult. And so I guess in my myopic youth, I didn't realize how much broader the music was. So early in my fiddle learning career, which is 10 years old now, the Finnish American Heritage Center and Finlandia University collaborated to hold a Finnish folk music camp out in Houghton, Michigan. And when I learned of that, I was like, I have to get out there at all costs because that's where I'm going to make this thing come full circle. The idea of picking up a fiddle, learning to play Finnish folk music, that's where it's going to happen. And I made it known to various people in the Finger Lakes Finns group that, hey, I'm going out there. I can't wait. This is so exciting. And they totally shocked me by giving me some money to get out there and do it. I was like, wow, this is just amazing. And I went out there and it was so wonderful. Just so many different musicians had come from different walks of life to participate in the inaugural Finnish folk music camp.
Yeah.
And I came home with a couple new tunes and a little more information, and it started making the music I had heard as a kid kind of more real to me as a musician.
In what ways?
Like I had never really thought about playing it on piano. I just couldn't bridge the sound of the accordion that I'd heard so much as a kid, or maybe there were fiddles at some point, into something that you would play on the piano. Or I would only know the melody, so then what do I do with this hand here on the piano? And also confirmed to me that, hey, I know this music, which is a big part of being able to be a fiddler. You kind of got to know it here. It's I've come to learn that if you have it in your head without having to read the notes, that it's sort of easier to hold on to, or I don't know. Now when I read a piece of folk music off of the sheet, I'm like, well, that's not what it looks like in my head. I kind of get confused trying to play it because I have this different mental picture of it, I guess. It's interesting.
Can you say a little bit more about it?
Yeah.
This is really intriguing,
So going into the Finnish folk music camp, I knew a few of these traditional New England contradance tunes and New England music by heart on the instrument. And I knew various Finnish melodies to sing in my head, but not on an instrument. So then I went there and started learning to play some of them, the Finnish folk tunes. And it kind of skipping over looking at a piece of music to do it. I was like, oh, I know that, and this song, it goes like that, and then it goes over there, and then the thing comes down. Versus, here's a dot on the paper. Mm-hmm. It's like more three-dimensional in my head, I guess. And because I had danced to some of the tunes, I can feel a little bit of movement with them, I guess.
So is it almost like you have a better, when it's in your head, when I've seen some Finnish charts, it's like pretty, it's just like quarter notes, eighth notes, maybe some 16, but, do you feel like the way you see it in your head is more like elastic or breathy, or like there's more like, I don't know, contour or phrasing?
Yeah, contour, phrasing, definitely. It would be that.
Uh-huh. Do you feel like, for tunes where maybe you know the words that you play, you shape the melody on your fiddle differently than if you were just looking at the... Absolutely,
right. A lot of the Finnish tunes are fairly melancholy, and particularly certain phrases of the chorus are, and I definitely at least try to phrase it that way with a little more pathos or something.